and welcome to This Thing Called Life, a podcast dedicated to sharing stories of giving, kindness, compassion, and humanity. Your host, Andi Johnson, will guide you through powerful stories of organ, tissue, and eye donation from individuals, families, and healthcare teams whose experiences will inspire you. Every act of giving, no matter how small, has the potential to change a life. We're so glad you're here. Now, let's dive into the show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to This Thing Called Life. I'm your host, Andi Johnson. I have two guests with me today, husband and wife team, and they have a beautiful family of 6. Felicia and Jonathan Rohman, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. So you have this beautiful family. I've had the opportunity to meet them and kind of see you all together in action, and both of you are just like two of the coolest and calmest parents I've seen, because that would just to me be a lot of chaos, but you guys seem to manage it really well. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
But let's talk about Hadlee. Hadlee is your third child?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about Hadlee and her journey and your family's journey.
Sure. So Hadlee was born in 2017. I found out when I was pregnant with her that she had hypoplastic left heart syndrome. So basically, left side of her heart wasn't developing like it should. We tried, once she was born, to go through the palliative surgeries for that. Into the end of 2019, towards the beginning of 2020, she started to have pretty significant right-sided heart failure. So really at that point, our only hope was organ donation and transplant.
So that had to be a scary diagnosis. What was that like for you both in hearing that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess if you're going to look at silver lining of things, with us knowing that she had a heart condition early on, we kind of had already prepped ourselves that, this very well may be a possibility down the road. That, the palliative surgeries that she was going to have may not be, all that she would endure, that she may have to actually have to go through a transplant at some point. And so mentally, I think that we were kind of there, if that makes sense. When the news came to us that, hey, this is the option we're going to have to go with, she's not going to be able to finalize that third stage of her palliative care. She's going to have to be added to the transplant list, and we're going to have to go through that process. It was kind of like, we put our hard hats on and we're like, okay, let's go to work. What do we need to do to get this started? What do we need to do to kind of get this process and this journey going? And so, at that moment, that was more so kind of how I feel like I felt, probably Felicia as well, as, okay, what's the next step? What do we do? And just kind of were mentally prepared, I think, a little bit, given her past, to be able to start that journey and start that process.
So how long did she actually wait? Was she on the waiting list?
So she went into the hospital like January of 2020, and they said she was one of the quickest to be put on the transplant list, with just being able to go through the entire process. She and just kind of where they were meeting. Because it happened within a week.
Wow.
Time frame.
Oh, wow.
So January 2020, and then she actually had her transplant May 28th of 2020, which is ironically our son's birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
So it's like your son's birthday and then her heart anniversary.
Yes.
Right. I will tell you, though, it was a little bit of a roller coaster leading up to that moment, though, at first, because, it's odd. I don't have a great memory, but there's certain things that I remember in time. February 3rd was when she was officially admitted into the hospital. February 14th, Valentine's Day, we found out that she had a donor. That quickly, that was, within her being admitted. And so, we were kind of shocked that we were able to get someone who was willing to donate and find a donor that quickly within being admitted. But ultimately, that donation was not meant to be. Something transpired between the time that it was supposed to come to us and when she was supposed to have her surgery. We got a call at like 2:30 in the morning saying, hey, unfortunately, the donation fell through. So Hadley's going to go back to the list, and we're going to, go forward with that. And, hopefully, no time telling how long it'll take before another one comes, but
Right.
hopefully, you guys won't be here too terribly long. But as you know, 2020 was COVID time.
So that was my
Yeah.
next
So-
question. I mean, how in the world did you navigate that?
That threw a wrench in things for sure, as it was already pretty high stakes with everything going on. At the time, we had 2 other kids. I was working in the hospital, so we were seeing the spark of COVID in the heat of everything. Infection control is a huge thing when someone is on the transplant list, so trying to keep them healthy. So it became a point where John actually going in, with Hadley going into the hospital, he had quit his job so that he could stay in the hospital, and then I would maintain things at home. Prior to COVID, I was visiting pretty regularly, and the kids were visiting. But then as soon as COVID hit, I still was on the list just for incidental purposes, but because of the infection risk, I did not want to put her at risk at all. So we did a lot of FaceTiming, a lot of that. And then the kids' schools shut down, so I became a homeschool teacher.
I can imagine juggling all of that.
It was a wild ride.
Yeah, and I just like to preface too that she's an absolute rock star. I don't think I fully appreciated everything that she was doing while I was in the hospital with Hadley, but with me having quit my job, she was working 2 jobs, 80 hours a week, the other 2 kids at home, navigating COVID and then having to do homeschooling and everything else in that capacity, and then also not really being able to come up and visit because she didn't say this as well, but she was an assistant manager of a TCU floor that got turned into a COVID-only floor during that time. So she was overseeing just COVID patients.
Oh, wow.
And because of infection control, she didn't want to risk coming to the hospital and possibly bringing something with her during that duration. So she wasn't being able to come and see Hadley at all, or, Hadley or myself. So we were there, just the 2 of us, for several months during that duration, kind of waiting until she was able to get her transplant.
Oh my goodness. That had to be really tough.
Yeah.
But you guys just pushed through.
Yeah, we're here. We made it.
Yes.
Persevered.
Yes. So how would you get through on the, of course there had to be some tough days where maybe you just I don't have it. What was your motivation to get through that?
I think for me, faith has always been something that has really grounded me. And I feel like it really, through God, that's the only way that I made it through. Because there were some really tough times. I mean, even when the kids were still visiting the hospital, they weren't able to see John
Right.
because we couldn't go in. So we would just, I would do laundry a lot of times for them and just drop it off at the
Right.
hospital, and he would send it home. So the kids would kind of say hi and bye at the drop off at Children's. There were a lot of tears on the way back home because they didn't understand
Right.
the full magnitude of everything that was going on. But yeah, I think just supporting each other and just kind of trying to maintain some sense of normalcy through things. And with our faith, it is really kind of what got us through.
It's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with hospital life too. I mean, if you've ever had a 2-year-old, that they're not just going to sit still. And with COVID having happened, Children's is great, and they typically have a playroom that you can go to and take your kid to, and they can explore and read and play with toys and Play-Doh and things like that. Well, that got shut down, and all elective surgeries and just everything else at that time was also shut down. So the floor kind of became a ghost town. There wasn't really a whole lot of patients that were there in those moments. And so we were kind of confined to our room for a while. So it was kind of figuring out like, okay, what can we do to try to occupy our time? And we had so much support from family and friends, people that would drop off food and baskets that were just loaded with, like I said, toys, coloring books, bubbles. I mean, you name it. So we're doing everything that we can to try to make the best of the situation of what we were in and trying to have some fun along the way. And, Children's was great. Eventually, they actually opened a vacant room for us across the hall, and we were able to make that Hadlee's playroom. So I was able to actually walk her across the hall to her playroom, her special playroom that was just for her, that she was able to kind of dance and play and
feel a little
normal, yeah, and do her thing. So she wouldn't. It was funny though because she wouldn't wear a mask. The mandatory requirement if you left your room for anything was you had to have a mask on. She refused.
Oh,
the only mask that we could get her to wear was a Kylo Ren plastic Halloween mask that went over her face, covered her entire face. So you just see this little 2-year-old walking the halls with this black Kylo Ren mask just covering her face, and it was the most hysterical thing that you've ever seen. But they're like, well, I mean, it's better than nothing. We'll let it slide for now. I mean, you've got to have some compromise here. So, but yeah, so it was just kind of funny. But yeah, so we, like I said, try to make the best of the situation and try to have fun with it and find things to occupy our time together.
So Hadlee gets her transplant in May of 2020. Since her transplant, what has that looked like for your family, and how is she doing?
She is doing great. Hadlee is a firecracker for sure. She kind of just marches to her own beat. But since her transplant, she's actually been able to welcome a new little sister. So she became a big sister.
Oh, I bet she treasures that role as big sister.
She loves it. Yeah.
Yes, she really does. I was worried because she's always been the baby.
Right.
And then she's gotten a lot of attention over the course of her life. And she really never had that moment of, oh, I don't know about having a new little baby around. She just kind of embraced it, which was pretty cool to see that shift in her. And then she's learning how to swim. She's played soccer. She's dancing. Wow. Just getting to live a normal life, which is pretty cool to be able to see and experience with her.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, the transformation's been incredible. You go from pre-transplant to where, we're walking with her and she's got purple lips, purple fingers,
Right.
People literally coming up to us and saying, is your daughter okay? Does she have some kind of maybe heart condition? Like people would tell us on the street all the time. We're like, yes, she does. We are aware of it.
But thank you.
And thank you. Yeah, exactly. And thank you for your concern. I appreciate that. And then she would get winded and tired very quickly. So her energy level would be incredibly low. As a 1.5, 2-year-old. And so now post-transplant, she has energy for days. I mean, she can run marathons. She's jumping on the trampoline for hours on end. She, like my wife said, she swims, dances, loves to dance. So just absolute full of energy and can just go. And she doesn't stop at this point. So it's really changed the trajectory of her quality of life since she's had that transplant.
What a blessing. If you could say something to your her donor's family, what would you say?
I think if I had the opportunity to say anything, it would just, one, how grateful I am that in such a time of turmoil and loss that they were still able to make such a selfless
It's a tongue twister.
selfless decision, because it really, just the impact that it had on our lives and just giving us back that time. There's really no level of gratitude that we can show for that. It's invaluable. So just really thank you.
Yeah, I think for me, it would just be as simple as, God bless you. I mean, because it really is an act of just pure selflessness, like my wife was saying earlier, to choose to do that and to choose to be part of something like that, and to, as difficult as whatever the circumstance may have been in that situation, to know that hopefully you get some peace, that you are helping somebody else be able to have quality of life, and that donation is going to be life-saving and life-altering as well. And just God bless you and thank you. And you have no idea what this decision has done for our family and so many people that have had the opportunity and the blessing to interact with Hadlee, and just to hear her story and the inspiration behind it and everything that she's gone through to get to this point. It's an absolute blessing. And I don't know that we could ever do anything to repay that act of kindness, but it's just, I hope that more people would be able to have that same mindset and that same selflessness, if presented with that, to be able to help save lives.
Yeah. I think the payback or the reward in that is Hadlee living like each day to the fullest. I don't see any better way to honor that gift than just, like you said, the swimming and dancing and
Right.
soccer. And she's just like, she gets to be a kid and gets to be, a big sister. And so how are the older siblings protective of Hadlee, kind of having seen what she went through? Did you see that, or is it just like everybody's?
I don't know. I feel like now that she's had her transplant, they're a little rougher with her. Like, oh, okay, you're good now. We can horseplay, and you're all set. So I feel like you're normal.
Yeah.
At this point, I feel like that the limitations and the restrictions aren't the same as what they were. So I almost feel like that there is that just a sibling sense of normalcy between them, and it they bicker like all brothers and sisters do, and have their moments together, but. At the end of the day, they still want to curl up with one another at night. Like, Hadley's a cuddler. She wants to sleep with her big sister. And, so it's just kind of that, it brings that sense of normalcy to the family and to the brothers and sisters between it. So it's been great to watch.
Yeah. So having had this experience, what would you say to encourage people to register to be a donor, having been on the receiving side of this?
I think just, I would say to them, being able to be a part of something so much greater than ourselves, and just that selfless action, they're in devastation or in times that are just really awful. It just gives hope, not only to the recipient families, but as those things are going on, hope that something better can come out of it, and to just be able to acknowledge that that you can see good following a storm. That as you said, I hope that our donor, if they know who we are, that they're able to look at Hadlee, and whereas they might not have their child anymore, they can see all that she's doing because of that gift that we were given. Just be able to acknowledge that, and that would be my encouragement, that they would be able to see that for donation.
Yeah, and obviously we're looking at it from a different spectrum of receiving versus giving, but my hope would be that thinking from a giving standpoint, that it would bring peace and hopefully maybe a little bit of closure in a positive manner when you're looking at the situation of a loss of a life, and being able to know that something good can come from it. Something good can come from the decision to donate, where, somebody else will be able to experience life because of this decision, and be able to have life to the fullest and have opportunities, and, hopefully have many blessings in their life. So that would be kind of my encouragement and my shtick with wanting to be a donor is that, hopefully you'll find peace and a little bit of closure in knowing that you are able to provide hope and more quality of life for others with being able to do so.
What would be your advice for that other young family who's out there and faced with what you were faced with Hadlee and her heart condition, just navigating that and walking through that? What would be your kind of being on the other side of it now?
Man, I'll tell you, it really takes a community. We were extremely blessed and fortunate that God put some very strategic people in our lives when he did during that time, between family, friends that we hadn't met yet, friends that we had met but hadn't really grown close to, except through those times where we got to have really close relationships with them because of the situation. Be open to people who want to help. Don't isolate yourself.
Yes.
You can't do it on your own. I mean, you probably could, but it's going to be substantially more difficult if you shut yourself out and don't accept the help and the love of family and friends who want to be there and support you and do what they can.
Yeah.
And I think that there's no way we would be sitting here to this day if we didn't have the love and support from everyone that we did during that time.
Yes, and I just feel like I kind of echo that as well, and just really leaning into your family. Obviously, the situation is not normal,
Right.
but trying to find those pieces of normalcy that you can pull in, not forgetting where that root of your family dynamic is. And like Jon said, just leaning into community and having that support through faith or, different avenues. It really, it made a difference for us, for our journey. I mean, like Jon said, we had so much support from so many people we didn't even know that were reaching out to us and just giving us that encouragement through work, old friends, childhood friends. And so really just leaning into that is really crucial, I think, in going through something like this.
For sure. I think it highlights the reminder that we should be, in community together, and especially in times like that.
For sure. And I would say, like, we live in an age where social media has, blown up over the past several years, especially since COVID. And so that kind of helped too, to be able to share Hadlee's story, and people who may not have ever known about her or what was going on in her life. It drew them in and they got invested.
Right.
And so, like I said, that's kind of one of the ways that we were able to continue to build community and build people of support, was being able to share her story through different avenues of social media and things of that nature. So while social media gets a bad rap many times, there are a lot of good things that can come from it if you use it correctly and utilize it the way it should be.
Right. And, just think too, you're impacting families going through similar things by sharing that journey. They're able to, connect with that in a way that probably provides a lot of support. So I think it's fantastic that you were willing, to share all of that, because, not everyone would do that, but I think it probably helped provide a roadmap for other families.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I think it gave a little bit of light, especially in a really dark time with all the uncertainties of COVID. It was a different story. It was something new to hear, and it was that piece of hope to kind of follow, which was neat to be a part of.
Well, I want to thank you for joining me today and just sharing your journey. And it's so wonderful just to see Hadlee, she's just this bright light, and she's thriving, and she's got a little sass to her. And I mean, I think it gives hope, as you said, to other families going through this. And so I just, again, appreciate you both being so willing and vulnerable to share your story with us.
Sure.
For
Thank
sure.
you for
Yeah.
having us.
And we appreciate Donate Life and Network for Hope for always being there and wanting to partner with us. And we're always happy to do anything that we can to support and to be able to share our story and hopefully give hope to others as well.
And we do. You guys have been amazing in doing that. And again, I think it just encourages others, if they're not sure about donation, to hear your testimony, it's like, oh, okay, I see it now. I see why this is important. And it just puts a face to, transplant and the power of transplant. So we appreciate everything that you do and just sharing your story and being a part of our community. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank our guests, Felicia and Jon, again. And I just want to remind you that there are more than 100,000 people who are waiting for a second chance. They're waiting for a life-saving transplant. So please take the time, visit networkforhope.org to get more information and understand the power and importance of registering to be a donor. And you can do it very easily when you're at the BMV, or you can go to registerme.org. I want to thank everyone for listening, and I just want to remind you to please be kind to yourself and to others. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to This Thing Called Life. Remember, every act of giving, no matter how small, has the potential to change a life. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts so you never miss a new episode. We'd truly appreciate it if you could share, like, or leave us a review to help us grow.